Hi my dear readers, in this video I would like to speak about some travel advice for people visiting India for the first time. And although it's not related to what I post on my channel, I have lived in India for I guess around 8 years now or more, and so I have some advice to share, and I know that it would benefit those who have never visited this country before. And this country is extremely different from the way that things run in the West. Culture-wise, you could say that it's totally opposite, and it's a mistake to visit this country without researching about the way that people behave here and what they consider appropriate and inappropriate. For example, as I'm usually staying in a beach area, now it's off season, but when it's season time there are many tourists here. But it's also a pilgrimage place, so people visit this place because there are many temples. So you get a mix. You get people from the West who want to enjoy their holidays on the beach, and then you get local Indian people or people who come from other places in India for pilgrimage, for spiritual things, spiritual purposes, and then they are exposed to the foreign culture. And since most foreigners who come here, they don't read about India, they don't know that it's inappropriate for women to wear bikinis and stuff like this, and they just get really bad impression of Westerners. So it's not a surprise that then Indian people have this opinion that women of the West would sleep with anyone, and they're just loose characters. That's the opinion, unfortunately, and it's based on what they see, how Westerners behave, and the way that their minds work is different from the way that our minds work. So for example, a Western woman would perceive dressing very openly, dressing short clothes, like to be her expression of freedom. I don't consider it expression of freedom, but that's what many women think, that if they can dress however they like, and because that's the expression of their freedom. But the way that Indian people think is just a loose behavior, that they want to attract attention of men and that they are not moral characters. So it's a very different way that people think, and because Westerners do not read enough about India before coming here, they really leave bad impression of who Westerners are, and therefore there are many misconceptions about our culture. So the first advice that I would give for people who come to India is to read about the culture, because yes, you can go to the beach and you can swim in the sea, but it is highly advised that you do so with t-shirt on and with shirts rather than bikini, because it's just not appropriate in this culture. And I know I won't change much because many people do this, but in the way that Indians perceive us because of doing this is that basically they perceive us that we are loose characters. So I, for example, have been living in India for around 8 years, and I've never been in a bikini on a beach, never. Firstly, I want to protect my skin. I don't want my skin to age, so I avoid sun in the first place, and I don't go out when sun is the hottest. But also it's because I'm very aware. Before coming, I also researched the culture, and I'm very aware that it's a big no to dress like this on the beach. So I did swim in the sea and so forth, but I did so in the clothing that is appropriate for this culture, because also Indian women, they go to beach and they swim, but they dress in the way that is culturally appropriate, with the exception of some, I would say, the richest that would live somewhere. I'm staying in Kerala, but if, for example, some people are from Mumbai, and they belong to the richest class, they want to copy the West, so they try to behave in a way that Western people behave. So this is an exception, but since the rich is very few here, the highest class, so this doesn't apply to the rest of the country. The other thing that I would advise for people who come here for the first time is that you will very likely to meet the kind of people that are one type. You would not be exposed to what I would say normal Indian people, but if you come here, you would be exposed to people who are opportunists and things like this, because those people who work in tourist areas, they usually have some goals, and work in the tourism sector is not considered the highest. So usually people who have like troubled childhood, they are into drugs, they can't get normal job, they have no education, and those who are after like getting rich quick through through marriage to a Western woman, they would come to work here. So you would not get a good understanding of what Indian people really are. And I would actually say that about the same thing I would say about people who come to study in the West, and those who work in the West also. There's a specific type. So again, you're not exposed to the whole range of Indian people, either in the Western countries, or when you come on holiday to India, you would not see like normal working people who work in office and so forth. You would be exposed to a very different type of people. So do not be mistaken about it. Do not think that this is what Indian people are, because really tourist places attract a certain type of people, and especially it's advice for women. If some guy is interested in you, it's very likely that he either wants sex from you, and after that he's not interested, or he would use you for sex, and then when you go he would use another girl for sex. This is the tourism sector. People are like this. And I'm not saying all people who are attracted to tourist sector are like this, but many are. So if someone is very interested in you, be careful. Or it could be that the guy has nothing, he's very poor, and he wants an easy way out. He wants an easy life, so he would be interested in seducing a woman from the West and marrying her, so that he escapes his hard life in India and he could settle in the West. Or he could use someone for money. For example, some guys, they are already married or have girlfriends in villages, and those women don't come to see where they work. So you would assume he is single, but he's not, and he is just having a good time with you, spending your money, and then when you go, he would do the same with another person. So be careful if someone is interested in you. And the sign that it's not serious is that if he is not telling anything about you to his parents, and if you are one of those women who dress short clothes, that's definitely not serious. He is not interested in you in a serious way. And if you do, if you are mindful of the culture and you fit into the culture, although you are not from India, some Indian men might be interested in you for some long-term commitment. But apart from this, they would not see you even as human being. You would be just like a sex object. That's the culture, and it's difficult for people to understand, but this is how it is. So you have to be very careful. So if a guy that you date doesn't hides you from his parents, secretly speaks to his parents when you're not there, or you have to stay quiet when he speaks to parents and so forth. He doesn't show you to his parents. It means he's definitely not serious about you, definitely not. So this is something you have to be very aware of. And another advice that I would give for people who come to India for the first time is that Indian people working in tourism sector, they sense new people. They kind of have that intuition, and they know if you are kind of new to India, so they would try to use you in some way. And again, I'm not telling all Indian people are like this, but tourism sector attracts that type of people, so they are quite well aware who is new to India, and they would try to use you in some way, like for example make you buy things that are 10 times as expensive and so forth. So you have to be very careful. If anyone is interested, some person on the beach just suddenly comes and talks to you, I would advise not to speak to them, because they want something from you. Would you be approached by some stranger where you are, showing great interest in you? What would you think about that person? You would think something is not right, but when people are in a totally new country, they just don't think the same way. They think those people are nice, but be careful. So if someone approaches you, I would just be quiet. I would not even politely refuse their conversation, because again, if you express politeness, they think you actually want to speak to them. Again, this is a cultural trait, and if you would watch, for example, Indian women, they just don't speak to guys approaching them. They just ignore them totally, and that's the message, that they are not interested. But what Western women do, and guys also, they just try to be very polite. Excuse me, sorry, I don't want to speak to you, and so forth. But they do it in such a nice way that those people just don't get the message, and then they start following, and you get the people who pretend to be guides, and then they give you free services of, they just suddenly meet you, and then they say, oh, I can show you around this place, and at the end they will ask you for money. So again, don't give money to such people, because you encourage their bad behavior. They should tell in advance if they want money from you. But you meet many people like this. I don't meet them anymore, because I stay in this place, in the same place most of the time, so all the people know me, so they know I'm not new here, so they don't try such tricks on me. But just be careful the kind of people that you meet when you come here. They will approach you for a reason, and don't buy anything for the price that is first quoted. Just probably reduce it 10 times or at least 5 times, and then if they refuse to sell something that you want for that price, you just start walking away, and then they will call you back, and then they will give you a more reasonable price. Then you have to again negotiate and you will be surprised how low everything costs. But most tourists don't know that, because they're used to the prices in Europe, and they don't realize how cheap everything is here. And also, if you're traveling by train, for example, or anywhere, anyhow else for that matter, if some guy especially offers you some food, like anything, don't take that, because now it's well known in India that this is it could be drugged, you could be drugged and things like this. So if a family offers you food, if you travel by train, that's normal, culturally normal, and it's up to you whether you want to take it. Just check what kind of family it is, how they act, and so forth. But be careful, as when strangers offer you anything. If it's a family, I would say judge yourself, but the thing is, when you live here for a long time, you know which people are fine to speak to take things from, and which are not. So just to be completely on the safe side, I would not take anything, I guess. If you gain more experience with kind of, observe people, then you might be able to tell which people are reliable and which are not. But again, it takes long time to understand Indian mind. It takes very long time. Even if you live here 1 year, it's very likely that you will not understand how they think. It takes a few years, if you're insightful, to really understand this mind. It works in a totally different way. The way that they speak to you and the way they think about you, it could be totally opposite. It's something that you would find out if you live here for a very long time. And if you want to get genuine experience of people, them befriending you in a genuine way, I would advise you to really study the culture and to dress accordingly, to not to be loud, because again, tourists tend to be from the West very loud here. They just come to the restaurant and then they scream, and just Indian people think they're crazy. So they should be polite in restaurants, quiet, and not to try to gain attention from others, because although Indian people will not show, they would actually laugh inside from how you behave. But if you dress appropriately and you're not loud, you're just how to say, reserved, then they would have much more respect for you, and you might attract people who are normal, not the ones that want to get something from you. So what else can I advise you? One of the best places to visit if you're new to India is definitely Kerala. Kerala is the most educated state in India. Most people, unless they're very old, they would speak English. And it's a place that is very beautiful. It's my favorite place in India. It's the most expensive state in India, but you would not feel, the expense if you're not from India anyway. Other places that are beautiful are in the north, I think it's the state of Uttar Pradesh, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. It's where Rishikesh is, the Himalayan mountains. It's truly beautiful place, and each state of India is like a totally different country with different customs and different dress styles and different foods. So the whole India is very interesting to explore, and you will not it's so huge that one lifetime is not enough for exploring it. So I hope I did not miss anything very important about staying here. If you want to travel by train, make sure you book far in advance, like a month in advance for long journeys or something like this. A month in advance, I think it would be very good, because trains are hard to get bookings for, and if it's long journey. But there is also a Tatkal ticket quota, and you can get those tickets a day in advance of your travel, but you have to queue early in the morning or hope that the internet system of theirs would work to book the ticket. And what else can I advise? If you stay for a long time in one place, you will save a lot, because you can then negotiate and get very good deal for accommodation. And if you stay just a few days in one place, it would be more expensive. Try to go to restaurants that are already busy, because it's hot in India, and if they keep food, like local places, they keep food, they don't make for you only, but they just make food and then they serve it. So if it's not busy, the food turnaround might be slow and you might get food poisoning. So just go to places that are busy, and I would advise against eating street food, except for places like Kerala. If the place looks clean, it's fine, but like in Delhi and Mumbai, I got several times food poisoning, even if I was living in India already then, and I got food poisoning because it's just dirty. So I would advise against eating street food, but just go to the safest, I think, is just going to local eateries, actually, not even to restaurants, but the local eateries with fast turnaround. You will get very inexpensive and low, traditional food. So that would be a good experience. If you go to temples, definitely you have to dress appropriately. Do not wear like anything revealing. And especially for women, you have to hide your cleavage. Just have some scarf and just cover yourself. This is very important. It's a huge insult for Hindus to witness tourists going in revealing clothes to their holy places. And some temples require you actually to wear a sari, to wear traditional clothes for you to enter them. And some temples, the heart of the temple might be closed to foreigners unless they are Hindus. What else can I see? I would also, if you have never watched Bollywood movies, I would advise you to watch them just to understand current trends in the society, especially if you watch modern movies. Just the way that the Indian mind works. Of course, it's a fantasy what they portray, but still you will get better idea of who the people are, and everyone is watching Bollywood movies, and every state, I think every state would have different movie industry also. So Bollywood movies is something that is now known in the West, but there is more like Kerala movies, Tamil movies, and so forth. The good things to buy in India are and take to the West are essential oils, all kinds of natural face packs, so natural skincare. There are many places, especially in tourist areas, that offer organic skincare and things like this. So you can buy things like this to take to the West. It would be much cheaper to buy them here. You may also check out, if you are coming alone to India, you might check out sites like Couchsurfing, and you don't have to stay with Indian people there, but you can just meet through that site Indian people who will be able to explain to you culture more. And if the person is highly rated, highly connected, it's likely that that's a genuine person. So that's another way to meet genuine people in India. So I guess that's all I wanted to share with you in this video. Thank you for watching. Take care.